Thank you so much for joining us. So this is what retirement looks like for you.
Apparently so, yeah.
In the last 24 hours, I've seen you. You've been on our airwaves. I've seen you on national television. I'm a head down prayer sort of guy. The mayor yesterday saying this is not a time for that. This is a time for action. So I ask you, what does that action look like?
Well, I think it's a time for everything, but I think the action is both short term, meaning people need to feel safe coming downtown. Obviously, what happened the other night needs to be investigated and the people held accountable as soon as possible, but also a long term look at how do we stop people from solving their problems with gunfire that impacts so many people in a very crowded area.
You were on Chicago television this morning, which I think is interesting because you've been quick to point out Chicago has the strictest gun control laws and the most enforced and the most gun violence. So what do they say about that? What do you say to that in correlation to this?
Well, the reason I bring that up is because many people say outright ban on guns or stricter gun laws. Well, Chicago has really strict gun laws, and they still have some of the most violent crime in the country. Other people say let everybody carry a gun. I don't think any single issue is the solution. We need to collectively work together to ensure that poverty isn't as high in areas, that people have hope, and they don't have these feelings of wanting to shoot people when they have a disagreement. We've seen in our city just road rage on the freeway where people shoot at each other for that.
No, we can't say specifically that this was gang violence. Regardless, you say the reason this happened is likely because there's a void of something in our community. Can you call that void?
I mean, we've seen an increase in violent crime now. We've seen that throughout our history, increase in gang activity, increase in hate crime activity. All of those to me mean there's a void in our society. There's something people are missing, so they go to those destructive ways of dealing with things.
You know, 72 shots were fired in less than a minute. So this is someone, gang-related or not, this is someone, if there was in fact a target, they didn't care if there was collateral damage, innocent people killed.
Clearly, if you're shooting off rounds, and some of them sounded very much like it could have been fully automatic weapons, which obviously are illegal, but in a crowded area, you're going to hit people that are not your intended targets, and clearly that's what's happened with so many people that were shot.
So at least one, but possibly two gunmen at large right now. If you were the police chief, what would you say to your citizens to give them comfort at this time?
Well, yeah, I would think there's a good possibility that there's more than one shooter with how many rounds were fired. And I think people need to see what's happening, see what is going on in our city that can make people feel safe, both in the short term, but also in the long term, because this violent crime has been on the rise for a couple of years now. We've seen it throughout history. We have to have a collaborative response, else we're going to continue to see this roller coaster that we have throughout history.
Chief Daniel Hahn, former chief, thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it.
Back to you.
I like what he said there, Mark, about the void in our community. So maybe that's the next step to figuring out how to stop gun violence. Thank you. We'll talk with you in a little bit.